important today than it's ever been before. Are you trying to be interesting or are you trying to be interested? That's what's going to be the differentiating factor between you and everybody else. If you don't want to be one of everybody else.
Friedman,
an expert in the entertainment industry,
designing better experiences,
helping businesses tell their story better.
So we do all this courting, right? I call this the relationship paradox. Remember when you first dated someone, you're trying to impress the other person. 6 months, 3 years, maybe you get engaged and you get married. The courtship typically stops.
what does that look like?
Once that stranger says yes and they become a customer, a friend, a loved one, we put our attention elsewhere.
Paint the picture.
I believe an ideal result has 4 components. 1, your client raves. 2, your client renews. 3, they return. And 4, I've been saying this for 30 years. This is the controversial part.
You're listening to
Welcome to What the Tech, your gateway to business strategies and tech secrets shaping today's workplace. Let's welcome to the show, Jason Friedman.
Woo! Hey, man.
Woo-hoo!
Here,
Woo-hoo!
Woo!
I'm pumped that you're here today. You and I had a chance to chit chat a little bit prior to this. And so you said a lot of stuff in our little pre-podcast chit chat about some of the folks that you've been around with. And those names, like I said, Public Enemy, if you're, I guess, over 35, you know who Public Enemy is. They were everywhere. They were quite ubiquitous. They were a big name act. You also mentioned Fleetwood Mac, as well as Peter Gabriel. You know, a lot of the acts from the 80s and 90s that were big are big again because people are into nostalgia. Tell us a little bit about that, because people who have not been on a tour with these big name acts or been around them and just seen them on TV, what's that like when you're around people that are of that caliber in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, man. It was a crazy time. Like, as you can imagine, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It's lots of crazy. And
is it crazier than what the papers and some of these acts tell, the stuff that they do? Is it as crazy or even crazier?
I think it's way crazier. It's like, you think about like when you go to your favorite musical concert, right? Whoever it is for you, right? It's like you're so excited to get there. So are they. And there's thousands and thousands of fans and like everyone's excited. The energy's off the charts. People are present. They're there. They get there hours and hours earlier in anticipation. They tailgate. They hang out outside. They stay after the show's over and hang out. It's an experience, right? And so this is like, I use this analogy of like, again, dating myself a bit, like to the Karate Kid, right? It's like you like learn to wax on, wax off, paint the fence, sand the floor. And all of a sudden you're like learning this skill of how to be this like, champion karate fighter. Well, doing all these tours and all these theatrical experiences that I had over those years, you got to understand, like, what do you have to do to get an audience to show up early? How do you get your customers to show up early and be so excited about your business or your product, your service, your program, whatever it is, that they get there early and they can't wait to start. And then they want to stay afterwards and they tell everybody and they post everywhere. And when they're there, they're there. They're present. They're engaged. They want to remember it so much because it was so awesome that they're taking videos and photography of it. They're like texting friends about how amazing it is during the experience. And afterwards, on their way home, they tell everybody that they know how awesome. Like, I just had a front row seat to like learning this and seeing the results of it, and then said, wow, like, if I had to unpack this and really figure out like what were all the pieces of that, I did that. And I started doing it with businesses over the years. And the experience that we all have with most businesses pales in comparison to anything you saw when you're working with, Peter Gabriel's and so on and so forth.
Is that because the experience is not a live experience? I've been to Fleetwood Mac at Madison Square Garden, and that was unbelievable. Sure. I went to a Genesis concert when I was in Rome, an outdoor concert with them. Incredible. Is that just because the human element is not there, or can you actually bring that to the online space when customers are interacting or through a store?
Have you ever watched a video on Netflix?
Yes.
Sat in your family room on the couch and you just like, you spent 2 hours where you're like totally into the movie?
4 hours.
Yeah. And maybe it was so good that you're like, oh my God, have you ever seen blah, blah, blah? You have to watch it to a buddy or, a significant other or whatever. It doesn't have to be a live shared experience. Like, in-person live experience with lots of people doing it together is awesome. But then the question is, why? Because we're doing it with other people and we're having a shared experience. How do you do that online? There's lots of ways to do that online, right? I mean, you and I are having one right now. We're in completely different places in the planet where, we had different mornings. We both showed up here and now we're having a shared experience. And some people are going to be watching this after we've recorded it, right? And they're going to be having that experience. And maybe they're going to write you a note and tell you, wow, this was awesome. Like, he's a cool guest. Or never have some weirdo from theater back on your show again. Like, we'll see, right? The jury's out.
We like
right?
weirdos from theaters. We've had a number of, I'll call them creatives, right? People that have been in that space.
Yeah,
but and it's interesting because not all of us are creatives. And I heard the founder of Kind, Daniel, I can't remember his last name, but it's Daniel. He's the founder of Kind. And he was talking to Gary Vee, and he said there's really three kinds of people that he sees. There's the pure creative inventor, right? That's very clear. I don't even have to tell you who that is. There are those that are managerial operation types, and then there's the entrepreneur. And for us that are entrepreneur and managerial types, we do need a little more insight into the creative, inventive space. People that's what they do. One of my neighbors, they're in a band, and they're very creative. They're creative. If we had a bar graph, the creative for them is really high. It's off the charts.
Yeah.
Sometimes those folks maybe struggle a little bit more on the managerial operations and the entrepreneurial side. But that's why I love creatives. I want to hear, what are we missing for us non-creative types?
So first of all, I'm going to argue, now Daniel's a billionaire and I'm not. He knows some things that are probably really awesome that I don't know, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to give him all the props in the world. Love him on Shark Tank. I want to actually go hear the Gary Vee episode. So maybe you'd be so kind to send me a link so I can find it.
Sure.
But here's the thing. I don't agree that entrepreneurs and managerial types aren't creative. I don't think creativity is limited to a type of person. I think we all are creative in some way. And our art is our art. So maybe you're creative in thinking, maybe you're creative in design, painting, whatever, writing. Maybe you're creative in how you operate things and you bring a level of creativity to systems and processes and working within those. I don't know what that is, but I would say this, no matter what your business is and no matter what your role, we are all, if you have a business, you have customers and you also happen to have employees. And if you really care about the happiness and the success of both of those parties, your employees and your customers, then it pays, it's kind of incumbent, it's important for you to actually pay attention to the results they're having and the how they feel about the interactions with your business, right? And so you don't have to be creative to look at the data and just see, are they having results? How many people, if you have an online course, you mentioned online, so I'm just gonna use that as the example for the moment, but how many people come into your online program, you have a course, and they actually start? Not as many as you think. And how many people actually get to the end and complete it with success? Less than you think. Only 3 to 15% max have success with most online courses. That's the average.
Say that. Whoa, hold up. My slow brain's got to process that again. Because you hear a lot of people throw out, we just do a course and blah, blah, blah. Say that again. So only my little slow brain can actually process. Say that number again. Yeah,
only 3 to 15% max. So if you have 100 people that take your course, between 3 and 15 people actually get a positive result at the end or even complete the course.
Oh my God. Why is that so low? Or is that just the way it is?
I think it's so low because a lot of people say that's just the way it is, right? But it doesn't have to be, right? So here's the phenomenon that happens, right? So the phenomenon is that we need new customers to come into our business in order to sell them to be in our course, right? And so we put all this energy towards the sales process, the marketing that goes out there. And the marketing is messages and whatever you're going to put out there, Facebook ads and Google and TikTok and Instagram and all the things that you're doing there, your websites, your YouTube videos, your podcasts, whatever. We're building an audience, right, of prospects that hopefully they're moved to some way or that they feel like we've got something that will help them solve a problem or create a transformation in their lives. And so they decide they want to buy. And so we do all this courting, right? I call this the relationship paradox. It's like, remember when you first dated someone, you found like, you had your first date, like you obsess, where should we go? What time should I meet them? Like, what should I wear cologne? What outfit should I wear? When we're on the date, like how deep should I go in questions? What should I tell? What should I not tell? Do I kiss them? Do I not kiss them? How soon after do I text them or follow up? Or what's too soon? And you obsess over all these details. You even maybe get feedback from others. And let's say that the date goes well, right? Thumbs up. And then you're going to go out on a second date. It's a little bit more relaxed because there's a little bit more familiarity, but you still care so much, right? Because you're trying to impress the other person. And as it goes on, you become more and more familiar. Maybe it's 6 months, you're exclusive now, and it's 9 months and a year and 3 years, and maybe you get engaged and you get married. The courtship typically stops. And that's true of many of us, not all of us. Some of us has figured out how important date night is and how important it is to keep courting the
quality
people that are
time
important to us. But most of us take our energy once that stranger says yes, and they become a customer or a trusted relationship person, a friend, a loved one, we put our attention elsewhere. And in the case of our customers, we got them as a customer. Great, they're going to go through our course. Let me get the next batch in.
Right.
And if you want to win, you have to have a healthy obsession of helping your customers get results. Like your energy, your research. How many of us have a customer success budget? We don't. We have a marketing budget, an advertising budget, a social media budget, a sales budget. But we don't have a customer success budget.
Tell me what that looks like. You said, okay, so let's say I'm buying into this. I want to be upset. I want those customers to have a relationship beyond the courtship phase. What does that look like? If I want to do something in that regard, and I've never done, our business has never done that before.
Yeah. I mean, so our program, we have this program that you mentioned, the Kinetic Customer Formula, right? So what we do, we believe that your customers start out with potential, right? So if you go back to physics class for a second, I'm not going to get too nerdy, but there's two types of energy. There's potential energy, which is energy that could do work. And then there's kinetic energy, which is energy that is doing work. It's energy in motion. And so we take our prospects with potential that become customers with potential, and we want to convert them into engaged customers that have momentum, that are moving through the pathway towards success, right? So that's what we teach people, all sorts of ways to do this throughout the program. It's a formula. It's repeatable. It creates consistent results time after time. But where you start is at the end, right? You have to begin with the end in mind. And so the first thing we want you to do, and this kind of goes back to our theater experience, right? It's like whenever there's important words that need to be said that create consistent results, like you go to the show and you have like actors on stage and you get a standing ovation, that's not an accident. Everything's been choreographed and scripted and put together to get that result, to elicit that response, to have the audience feel something that makes them jump up in their seats, start clapping furiously, whistling, screaming, and getting so excited because they were transformed, they were moved. And so how do you do that in your business? When there's something important that you want to have happen over and over again, you script it. And so where we want you to start at the end is your customers just completed your program, your course, your experience, your service. And it was amazing. Rewrite the script of what they would say if someone said, tell me about your whole journey with Rolando's program. And so that person would sit down with that person and they would kind of like go back and flash back and say, what were the highlights? What do I remember? And so if you have an amazing onboarding experience, which I hopefully we'll go back and talk about in a minute because it's one of the most important moments, it's like I was feeling nervous. Like I decided to buy this because like the messages that they shared, the stories that they shared of people just like me that were able to get those results, it gave me a level of confidence that I've never had before. Like,
now, could I call that social proof? So if you're saying, I hear you saying messages, I see that on some websites where you have either testimonials or social proof where somebody said, yeah, I took the course and, became a bazillionaire, or I bought this product and I actually lost weight. I'm just making
that's
very
superficial.
relevant.
That's superficial. Like that's what.
Oh, really? Not like that.
No, like it is social proof, but like you have to unlearn what you think social proof is.
Please educate me. That's why you're here.
So just stay with me for a second, right?
Okay.
Like, stay with me. So I'm feeling like, wow, like the way that they shared this, I see myself in these other people. And so I decided, kind of against my normal, that I'm going to take a leap and I'm going to try this. Well, like the way the program started was refreshingly different. They didn't give me all this information that they thought I needed. They gave me just what I needed. They helped me feel good about my decision. And amazingly enough, like within the first 2 days, I actually had a win. Like I got a result in 2 days. Like I was like, wow, like I made me want to do more. And as I kept going through the journey, I kept like uncovering different things and I started picking up speed. And the way they supported me throughout, like I've never felt so supported my entire life. Fade out, fade in. I'm at the end and like everything that I wanted to achieve and more has happened. Like you have to do this program. Like if you have X, Y, and Z, you have to do this program. It's the best investment you'll ever make. That's not social proof like I lost 30 pounds, right? That's sharing their journey. That's what makes it different.
Okay. All right. So the journey that somebody has that's unique to them versus, I lost 30 pounds taking the supplement, it's going to be more effective at connecting with future customers, those that are potentially looking at your product or service.
Sure. So we call that script the ideal customer script. When you write that, you create a roadmap for the things that have to happen along the way. And you start to see where people have perhaps seen friction or obstacles or difficulties put in their path along the way with other programs, products, or service, maybe not even in your niche, right? But they found those. And then the next thing that we need to like really think about is like, what really is an ideal result? Is the ideal result that they lost 20 pounds? I would argue that it's not, right?
Okay.
So this is the controversial part, right? I believe an ideal result has 4 components. The components are 1, that your client raves about their experience with you.
Interesting.
2, your client renews their subscription or their ongoing membership. 3, they return to buy more products and services. And 4, they recruit other potential customers into your business, like actively go out and grab them for you because of the experience they had. It's how they feel at the end that puts all that in motion. It's not the 20 pounds. It's the confidence. It's that they want to go out and live their life more fully because they lost 20 pounds. The 20 pounds is the how. It's not the result.
So if I were to deconstruct the, let's just say weight loss, just because it's applicable to so many people and they can relate to that, right? Yep. It's, I took this supplement and I lost 20 pounds, but the support I got from Rolando's program and his team was over the top amazing. And they held my hand through the process. And I was able to do things I didn't know I could do before. Something like that?
Almost. We're close, right?
Okay. I'm just playing devil's advocate for people that are maybe haven't done this before.
Throw it at me. The one piece that's missing is how I felt. Right. And so the key thing there is like, I lost 20 pounds and that was my goal going in this, but I didn't realize that what I really was searching for was this feeling of confidence that I've never had in my life. Like the way that looks for me is I go out with my friends more and I don't sit at home on the couch wishing that I had gone out with my friends because I couldn't find something to wear. That when I go in my closet, there's a million things that I can't wait to wear. So I look for opportunities to do more things because I feel good in my skin.
So what you're saying is, you said a word for me. It's important to try to be able to craft this narrative as feelings and connecting to those feelings. Because people, I had a guest last year, his name was Tim Ash, and he said to me, the primal brain makes decisions that are not logical. And most of us operate with a primal brain all the time. And that really is tapped into the emotional feeling side, even though, I know that this thing is good for me and I should do it. And everybody says it's a good thing. I'm going to go with a thing that feels good or the emotion that's evoked by the thing, like what you're talking about, the confidence and everything else is what drives the decision to buy or do or take an action?
Right. So it's yes, 100%. And here's the thing, like people, it's want versus need. They want to lose 20 pounds. Like that's what they think, but what they need is more confidence. Right? There's a block in all of their life, and you can't sell people what they need. You have to sell them what they want. Right? And so in the beginning, you're going to be talking about people that lost 20 pounds, 50 pounds, 60 pounds. But in the messaging and the stories that they're going to share, it's going to be like, but the bigger win was this. And they're going to show you, they're going to land the plane as to what it's like the before and after, right? We're using weight loss, but it's not just the before and after of the amount of pounds lost. It's about the feelings and how their life has shifted, right? Relationships are better. The sun is shining more. It's, all of those things. But that really becomes true. Like you start to notice other things when that happens. And that's not just limited to weight loss, right? This is any business, every business.
Can you do this with a commodity product? So now we talked about weight loss. That's very personal to a lot of people. Yeah. And if you're marketing, there's some concepts you could take away from that, with the service that you're providing. What about products? Let's say, you sell a commodity product that's ubiquitous. Yeah. How could a business make that commodity seem way more in touch and grab people's attention rather than just, oh, that's a throwaway product?
Well, let's use an expensive one for a second, and let's use a BMW.
Ooh,
let's use a 330.
Yeah,
right? Let's say that vroom, right? Or
yes.
let's get even fancier. Let's use an M3, so it sounds a little throatier, right? Let's say that you want to go buy a BMW. You just got a big bonus at work, like massive bonus. You want to go drop all that cash on a brand new car. And
Hold on. Now, before you go there, somebody agrees with you. Somebody you've heard before.
Yeah, boy.
I love it. Love that. I appreciate it. Hey, listen, like that's a fun part of this journey that I'm actually going to tell somebody about. Like the experience I had of being a guest on your podcast, you're making it fun. You're making it challenging. You're making it personal to me. I do a lot of podcast interviews. This is at the top.
Oh man, now you're gonna make me blush, and I'm not even light enough to blush.
Well, we can all blush, right? And maybe it's because that you're doing this solo and your partner dissed us today. That could be it. We don't know, right? But it's been a good experience because you prepared for this. You thought about what it would be fun, and you thought about how to make it special. Anyway, let's go back to the M3.
Okay.
If I go to dealership A and I ask for the M3 and I give them the specs and they give me a price and it's whatever the price is, let's say it's $100,000 just for a round number. Then I go to dealership 2, I don't know if I said 1 or 2, A, B, whatever. So the second one, and they give me the same car for the same price. How do I choose? It's a commodity then. It's like if one gives me a little bit of more of a discount or throws some extra like floor mats in or something like that, it's still a commodity. Why would I choose one dealership over the other? And that's the question. What would they have to do for me to feel that this is the place that I want to do business with? And it doesn't necessarily mean that I had to be in a situation where I've done business with them before in the past or that I know them. Like they have the opportunity to earn my trust and have me feel like this is the place I want to be very quickly. Right? And that starts out by setting expectations and explaining what the journey of being a customer with them looks like and probably sharing successes. And if I'm smart, like I went out and did my homework beforehand and I probably have seen lots of reviews and things like that. And I'll know more about the different dealerships. And maybe I was referred in by somebody else. And maybe their referral was so powerful because they shared that whole journey. And my decision is going to be made based on those kinds of things. It's not going to be made on the price of the product because it's the same.
Right.
It's the same. So like in today's world, if you want to truly differentiate your business, it is the experience that you create or let your experience that your customers have. That's what's going to be the distinguishing factor, the differentiating factor between you and everybody else. I like to think of it as a fingerprint. Like we all have our own unique fingerprint. That's how they identify us versus everybody else. If you don't want to be one of everybody else, it's time to be mindful of that. And man, I've been saying this for 30 years. Like, this is not something new. And every time I say it, ironically, I say the same thing second. I say, and it's more important today than it's ever been before. Every time I say that, it's more and more true. There's more information than we could possibly digest. AI is making it even easier. And so, like, for other people to compete, and that it just levels the playing field even more. So if you want to win, it's about the feelings that your customers have and obsessing over them having success and removing as much friction and obstacle that's in their way of getting that result, getting that success. That's how you're going to win. Period.
Well, there's so much that happens. I mean, there's so much to unpack what you said. I think for folks that go into the traditional marketing role, right? Even in today's information age, where there's information all over the place, the classic marketing techniques are still with us, which is, what's the value proposition? Where are you in the price range? Give some good customer experience or service. And, you therefore, that completes the flywheel, right? But this is something that's not part of that. An MBA, I don't believe it's, an everyday class that's taught about starting at the end. What's the journey? What's the feeling like, when you're thinking about where you want to end up with the customer? You want raving fans. You said something to me that I jotted down the last time we talked, that you're going to have raving people. They're just going to say it in a good way and give you a 5-star review, or the opposite way. They really hated it, and they're still going to talk about you. So which one do you want?
That's the only time people talk about it. They talk really awesome or really crappy, right? Those are the two extremes. We don't talk about the messy middle.
Right.
We just don't. It's not important enough to actually get us out of our butts and do that. And so when we were talking about that, I was like, look, you're either going to have raving fans or you're going to have raving lunatics, right?
Yes.
And the crazier thing is this, and this is where you have to be careful. In today's age, we win and lose customers in micro moments, right?
Explain that.
So let's unpack that, right?
Yeah.
So it's your journey, like the whole experience. Like if I were to go to Disney World and I get there and everything's magical, right? Everything's perfect. Everything's amazing.
Everything's curated there.
Everything's perfect, right? But then let's say that you meet a disgruntled employee who was wearing the goofy suit and was so pissed off. They take the goofy helmet off and they're smoking a cigarette inside the park lines. And you come up and he's like, hey, could you put the thing back on, my daughter? And he yells at you. He's like, I'm on freaking break.
Bad Santa.
Blah, 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 right? You're like, you know what? The Disney magic is ruined. We're out of here. Right? The memory you have of Disney at that point is that, and you're not going back again. Right. Now, maybe that's extreme. Maybe it does or doesn't happen. But think about it in your business. Like there's these moments that can be make or break moments, and they're not big things. Right. And so you could have a raving fan that is kind of encumbered with one of those messy moments that turns them into that raving lunatic. So we really do have to figure that out. And what we've also found, there's a great statistic that I share with people inside of our program. For every one customer who bothers to complain, 26 others remain silent.
Well, does that statistic hold the other way? For every one that says, I love it, Rolando and his team were great, are there 26 others that probably feel that way but didn't post?
If you're doing our process, then yes. But I don't know if we have that stat out there in the world.
It's interesting on the negative, right? So you're trying to do everything possible to avert somebody really becoming a lunatic online and giving you a negative 1 star if that were possible. But I'm just curious, if you have that many on the negative side, would you equally have what is the physics that you have an equal and opposite reaction when you push on something, it pushes back equally?
And we believe that you do. I don't have the data for that. Like the that was small business administration statistics and stuff, right?
Okay.
I don't have the data on that, but I will tell you anecdotally from what we've seen with our customers, that is true. And we rely on that. We build that momentum. Imagine that you had those 100 people we mentioned earlier go through your online course, right? And let's say instead of 15 people max of the 100 getting results, what if 50 got results? You're not even getting 100. Let's say you 50, right? And those 50 people got really good results. And of those 50, 40 or 30 of them gave you this amazing testimonial that you used as your social media front end to your business, your marketing. What you know is that of the people that went through the course, the 50 that actually did it, because the other people didn't even start and didn't finish and whatever, of those 50 people, like we got them results. So if those people's stories are resonating, they're bringing people just like them, the likelihood of those new people coming in, they're going to get results too, because you've got the system figured out, right? You've put in the kinetic formula on the inside. And so what happens is every dollar that you then spend on marketing becomes worth more, because they're not just going to do one course and have these kind of results and not want more from you. So then you're going to buy your next product while they're referring. Lifetime value goes up exponentially, right? So I'll give you an example. I'm in a marketing mastermind. I've been in this group. If you don't know what a mastermind is, it's a bunch of like business owners, entrepreneurs that get together, kind of like a board of advisors, and we help each other grow. And it's a peer-to-peer sharing and caring and helping and supporting and sharing best practices. And it's amazing. It's been one of the highlights of my life, being in some amazing groups like this. I joined this one program in 2014. And when I joined, I think I paid $20,000. And then I renewed, and the first time I renewed, it went up to, I think it was $29,000, $30,000, something like that. And then they grandfathered that price going forward. I have still been in that same program. I just renewed again last year. It's 2024, right? So I've been in for 10 years, paying on average $30,000. Do the math. The lifetime value. Now, I've referred other people in, so that gets attributed to my lifetime value, right? I'm talking about it now. Somebody's probably going to email me and be like, dude, what's that program? It sounds awesome. I'd love to learn more about it, right? and so other people are going to ask me about it. I'm going to tell people about it, because this group is like my family. They're like so important to me. Like I do everything to show up for them, and they do the same for me. And so this guy built this program, and his name is Jeff Walker, amazing internet marketer and guru in the online business space, and a great dear friend and mentor to me. And Jeff built this program, and people love it, and they stay for a really long time. And he brings and attracts other awesome people through us, because we love it so much. I'm telling you how much I love it. I tell everybody how much I love it, and then other people want to be part of it. And they ask me, like, tell me more about what you love, and why did you join, and what have you gotten, and what have the results been? And I will talk all day about how I love this group. What if people were doing that for your business? Right? It's not that hard.
And I would imagine your costs for marketing also will go down if you have other folks raving about your product or service, right?
You build an entire sales force for free. Ooh. Now, you might have an affiliate program and you compensate them for that. Awesome. But where people fail miserably in affiliate programs is that they only do the payment part. They only pay them the bounty for all the referrals, which is great. Like, I'm not suggesting that's not a good idea. But here's the thing. People do what you pay them to do. So if I give you a commission for bringing people in, you're going to do that. But people love doing what you reward and recognize them for doing. So when you add the level and the layer of recognition to that.
So what does that look like? Again, let's paint the picture. You're the artist. I'm a business person. You know, there's a bunch of businesses out there that have affiliate programs. I've got that going. What should I add to it that's going to make it pop off rather than just an incentive for sending a referral?
I'll give you an example. So I'm going to use. I'm going to keep the name of the people out of this. But so there was a person that was promoting an online course. This person had a tremendous amount of success in the past and had affiliate relationships with some of the top marketers that had the biggest email lists out there. And so their whole business grew that way for years, right? That was what it was. And then all these people that were bigger and bigger started having less and less time in their promotional calendars to promote other people's businesses because they had their own stuff to promote. They just didn't have room anymore. And so they had to pick who the best converting offers were for their list based on the few slots they had, and they would only work with those people. And so people started losing their best affiliate partners. And if you're relying on affiliates to build your business, and they don't promote for you, your business starts to decline, right? What they started doing was focusing on building an affiliate army from their own customer base. So think about this. Your customer has an amazing result. And so they want to tell everybody about it and are telling everybody about it anyway. And then you recognize them for the success they've gotten. You use them as a testimonial and you showcase them everywhere, which helps their business grow because you're telling their story over and over and over again to a whole new crop of people. So you're actually doing marketing for that customer that was actually selling you. And it was a sales pitch that they did for you that's helping to build their business, but they don't have to spend any money to do that. And then you, beyond that awesomeness, then you actually pay them for the referrals. You make them an affiliate. And in the program, you're still promoting them more. You're like, hey, they were doing this for us. It's amazing. Look at how their business has grown. You're recognizing them in your programs, in your communities, as how they've contributed and how they're helping. And those are the success stories that you keep sharing with your entire community.
Well, I love that. I love that because you reminded me something that I must do for a past guest that came on. His name is Jason Mandel. Jason, I got to give you big props for that last episode. Showed us how to use techniques to enhance your financial pocketbook and stuff that is under the radar because a lot of brokers will not provide it because they don't make money. They're incentivized to make money on the things that provide recurring revenue. So big props to Jason Mandel. Back to my conversation with a different Jason.
Love it, man. That's awesome. Listen, that's part of experience right there, right? He's helping you no matter what, not just based on you buying something, but based on building that relationship. That's a perfect example. Great segue.
Perfect segue. I love it. And you reminded me of that. I'm like, I've got it here in my notes, and I was like, oh wait, I got to do that too. And that's something awesome. that I want to do too, because you mentioned a band. I mentioned it at your intro that you are part of. My wife absolutely loves, and I would love for you to even share a teeny little bit on what you have gleaned from Fleetwood Mac. You know, I went to one of their concerts back in 2014. Seems like 2 days ago to me, and at Madison Square Garden, and it was unbelievable. Stevie, and I think you told me that maybe Stevie Nicks wasn't on the tour that you were there, but my wife's a huge Stevie Nicks star. So if you're out there, Stevie Nicks, and you hear this, my wife loves you a lot, as well as the rest of the group, but she really likes Stevie Nicks. But tell me a little bit about, peel back the curtain, give me some behind the scenes on what it's like touring with such a band.
Yeah, I mean, so it was a fun tour. Like that one I remember so fondly. Like this is crazy, right? I actually didn't know their music when I got put on the tour. like I wasn't a Fleetwood Mac fan. Like I didn't know their music. One of my all-time favorite groups, what got me into doing lighting in the first place was Rush, right?
Really?
The Canadian power trio, right? And so I was working for a company that did these tours with rock and roll groups. And and so like they said, like, look, we have it was a small summer tour. I don't remember how many stops it was, 12, 20, something like that. It wasn't crazy. And we were playing like smaller venues, right? It wasn't like Madison Square Garden or anything like that, New York City. But there was an intimacy in that tour. And like you said, like Stevie wasn't leading the front. It was a woman by the name of Becca that was leading the band at the time, was one of the lead singers. And what was interesting is you got to know them on a deeper level. Like we had smaller audiences. It was diehard fans of the band. And there was like what you learn. It's so neat. Like one of the things that we teach people in customer experience is this idea of creating rituals, right? And the power of rituals in your business. I think one of the things that you learn, and I think one of the first tours that I went out with was actually Fleetwood Mac. And it's where I first started seeing people had rituals.
The audience or the audience, performers?
And the band, both of them, right? Like they would have like the pre-show ritual. They come out, they do their sound check. They had certain things that they did every single city like clockwork. And it was how they got themselves in the zone to do their thing.
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of shows with Tony Robbins, right? And backstage, Tony Robbins has like a trampoline, and he's like jumping on this little trampoline.
That's him. That is him.
Do his thing, but it's a ritual that he does behind the scenes, right? And it helps him get into state for the presentation. And so all the rock and roll groups do the same thing. All the theater groups do the same thing.
We do that, by the way, playing sports. I played sports in high school and football. Before the games, there is a specific drills. It's scripted. And you get these all the way up to kickoff. At 7:02, you're on the field. At 7:07, this is what's happening. And those are all the same every single time.
Yeah, you just gave me another. I've not made this analogy in all the teaching in all the years, which is crazy to me. And you just blew my mind. So thank you. I'm going to share what it is.
Okay.
But so my son is like a big time football player, right?
Okay.
And so my son Josh, and he's awesome at it. He hasn't been playing for that long. He's watched it for a long time, but he started playing this past year. He's going into high school next year. He's in junior high, and he became one of the starters. And he got really good.
What position?
He plays the line, so he plays
O-line.
O and D, right? So he plays both, and he learned the whole aspects of playing it like in the past year and a half, which is he was older than most of the other kids. They've been playing together since they were little runts, you know what I mean? And he came in and just watching all the rituals that they did at the practices and stuff. It reminds me, it's really the same as theater, right? And so when you think about it, you have plays. You have a playbook. It's a script. Call it what you will, right? And we have plays that we use to create results. And we know in what scenarios, based on who we're playing and what we're doing, where we're going to get those results. And so we practice that. And in theater, we practice all those scene changes and all those things within an inch of its life, because that's where success comes from, right? It's from knowing the plays, knowing the script, and rehearsing it and refining it and smoothing it out and getting it to the place where you have consistent positive results from the work you do. And so going back to the Fleetwood Mac thing, it's the same thing, right? They have these rituals. The audience, like that's one of the things you were saying, like live events, shared experience. It doesn't have to be like relegated to only live events, right? If you have an offline business, great. How can you do it? If you have an online business, great. How can you do it? You just got to think differently about it. And so like when the audience would come in, they would do their tailgating, they would do their things, they'd be playing the music, getting into state, getting ready to get ready. And they were so buzzed and so excited by the time they got there. Like, I was just like, wow, like this is unbelievable, right? And so in your businesses, like if you think about it, like what would it be like if your customers like were getting ready for their lesson with you or their coaching call with you or their, the software that you created or whatever it is in your business or your yoga studio that they're coming to? What would it be like if they were getting into the right frame of mind because they couldn't wait to really have an amazing experience? That comes with setting expectations for them, of helping them come up with those ideas in scenarios that they're not used to it. And maybe some of your customers becoming like ambassadors to your brand and showing them the ropes and giving them the ideas. It's really
so
powerful.
this like you were saying, getting back to the confidence thing, this almost really has nothing to do with the product or service, but the result or the thing that you're helping them solve, but you're using the product or service as a tool or as a method to get there.
Yes, exactly. It's your unique mechanism that gets them the result, right? And that result, it's like feature benefit kind of argument if we go back to traditional marketing, right?
Yep.
And we've got to sell the transformation. And when you sell the transformation, it's not just like you're going to lose 20 pounds. Awesome. Show me that in a movie. Like if I'm watching a movie and I see that I'm now 20 pounds, what does a 20 pound lighter person look like? And
Benjamin Button's reverse aging or something.
Right. But it's not just their body. It's like,
right.
How do they show up in the world? Like if you were to show them, like they're sitting on a couch, like a couch potato with a big bowl of ice cream and like a sand shovel, like shoveling it in their mouth, watching, eye candy on the TV, whatever. They're not active. Like they're sloppy, they're whatever. And they go upstairs and like, they get a phone call from their friend, like, hey, you want to go out? And they're like, maybe I'll call you back. They go up to their closet. They go through every single thing of clothing in there. And they're like, I'm sorry, I can't come tonight. Something came up. I'm really sorry. and they're like so depressed and so upset because they just didn't feel comfortable in their own skin going out. You can see that.
Yes.
And then at the other side, when you see them like going in their closet and they're throwing clothes on, they're trying like 2 things on, like that's the one, and they go out and then they call their friends and say, hey, you guys want to go out tonight? Like, let's go. Their energy shifts. Their life changes. Their calendar is now social outings and doing other things that they most so desperately wanted to do. They're not isolated, sitting on the couch by themselves, feeling bad anymore.
I love
transformation.
I love that this gets into you've almost touched on the other piece I really wanted to kind of pull from your brain, which is the storytelling and the way you just told this story. And there's great storytellers of our day. I love Judd Apatow, how he puts together movies. Yeah. There's Spielberg, masters at the story, and there's Scorsese, the E.T. like the emotional. I mean, these are just movies that are instantly recognizable. They all have amazing storylines, amazing stories within the story, and in that part of storytelling, although that's in an entertainment business, that's one of the other reasons I wanted to talk to you about is that storytelling. How do businesses tap into that? Most of us are still stuck with traditional marketing or traditional social media, but this side of the lens, if I were to borrow it, which is, the storytelling aspect, we can pull that into a business on an infographic. We could tell that on a website. We could tell that story in so many different ways. How do businesses tap into that? But more importantly, what mistakes do you see when businesses try to tap into this storytelling mechanism that we should avoid?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. First and foremost, make your customer the hero.
Mm.
You're not the hero. The business isn't the hero. You're the guide, right? So if you think of like Star Wars, and you've got like Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan, right?
I'm your father, Luke.
It's and Yoda, and there's a lot of guides out there, right? Like Yoda, what I was saying. It's like
you said the customer is a hero. So I took you off with my voice.
And so when you start thinking about the hero's journey, right? To go back to, the whole, Joseph Campbell kind of model, if you're familiar with that, of the hero's journey, it's like that's who the journey is about. And so when we start to really craft that journey, we know there's going to be ups and downs, and they need ups and downs to kind of get to that place. What we often miss, though, is that our customers don't all come into our world, into our ecosystem at the same point in their story.
And do avatars matter? So I wanted to ask you about this. So you have a hero. Is it important that you're talking to the female that's a mom who's 35 years old, may have 2 kids, versus the single guy who's 21 and is a college student?
Yeah, I mean, they have different wants and needs, right? They have different issues. They have a different journey. Right now, they may coalesce into a journey in your business, right? And you can offer the same. Like people say to me, "Hey, can you help online businesses?" Yeah. Well, can you help offline businesses? Yeah. Well, how is it the same? Well, the things that we help them do, the strategies are the same, right? The way you apply that is a little bit different, right? And so when I'm explaining this to different businesses, the avatars of just that basic thing, it's some different issues, right? That I have to address differently. And then there's a whole bunch of other things in just the online or just the offline world. And so you do have to get really clear on your avatars. The way we like to teach people to do it is a little bit different than most people teach it. So again, going back to my theater background, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about Matthew McConaughey, right? Famous actor. I think everybody knows him. All right, right?
All right, yes.
So Matthew is going to play a role in a film. And he has to learn who this character really is. Like he has to figure out how to get into character. So when he's on camera and he's interacting with everybody, we as the audience, we believe that he's actually that person. He's no longer Matthew McConaughey, he's Bob, right? And so when you do that, you have to go deep. deeper than we would ever do in any avatar exercise. Like, I want you to know your customer so deeply that you're able to play them on stage. I want you to know what they're thinking and expecting. I want you to know the shitty morning they had before they get to your webinar to then buy your product, so that you know where they're starting.
So you're looking further back at the journey. The journey isn't just when it started on Amazon or just when it started on your website. It's before that.
Who are they? Like, what got them to the place where they're even looking for the solution you offer or the product, or if they're brand aware of you too, right? So we have like different levels of awareness about what you do also. They may just have a problem. They don't know if there's a solution out there and they're looking for one. They may know that there's a solution, but they don't know your solution. Or they may have been told, oh, go find that. And now they're just trying to get some data. All of them are at different stages of their experience and their journey. And they may have tried other things and failed every time, right? So depending on where they are, like, you need to know those avatars so that you can meet them where they are. And in most cases, I found the most, like, if you understand their journey and you can articulate that, they will feel understood. There's a big difference in how they then will show up when they feel understood. And like my coach, Dan Sullivan, used to say, like, are you trying to be interesting to your customers, or are you trying to be interested in your customers? And there's a big difference in that, right? And I had the good fortune of like learning that lesson, or being asked that question in 2004. And so that was one of those powerful questions that kind of changes the way you look at the world. And so I spend most of my time trying to be interested in others.
And is that a process? Is that just an ongoing thing? Because, your customers, if you have a lifetime value, they're going to be getting older, right? And so is it a process of just constantly collecting information so you're understanding where they're at so you can meet them at their need?
For sure. But like, even on a more micro level than what you just shared, like that, yes, macro, right? They're gonna age and they may need other products or services or things. And that could be how your business expands and grows. It could be how you build relationships with partners that you can kind of hand that customer off to the next place, but you've made a smooth transition to the next vendor or company that can help them. But even on a smaller level, let's say that I'm helping you with weight loss, and we get to that 20-pound mark, and that's what they signed up for, and they're feeling good in their skin, and now they're afraid they're going to put it back on. They don't know what the next phase of their journey looks like. What are they worrying about then? It's a different worry. It's a different fear. It's a different concern.
Well, how do you keep it off? What do you do? Right? You got there, right? You lost the 20 pounds. You met your goal. It's theoretically you should be able to stay there for life,
right? And you might need support for that, right? And so, like, you might have another program that you invite them to join at that point. And if you don't know them and understand their journey, and you're not interested in finding out what they're looking for, what their needs are, you'd miss that, right? And you'd be the one trick wonder of, I have one product, one service, one program, and that's it. And then awesome, they congratulated me, they got their success, let me go fill the funnel. And that's where we miss, like, there's so much more to the picture, right? The whole life cycle of client journey. Like, I use an analogy of Disney to go back there, right? So like, if you go to Disney World in Florida, right? They have different theme parks. They have Magic Kingdom, they have Epcot, they have Wide World of Sports, they have Animal Kingdom. Each of those has its own journey. And then if you go into Magic Kingdom, there's 5 different worlds. Like, there's Frontierland and there's Tomorrowland and, so on and so forth. And so those are different journeys. Main Street USA. And then there's like the Pirates of the Caribbean. That has its own journey. So in your business, you're going to have nested journeys all throughout there. It's kind of like the Rustin doll thing, right? There's like inside. And so as you think about your business, where I want you to start is I want you to start at the lowest level. Pick one journey that's at the lowest level. It's a single product or an experience that they have. It's not your whole business. And go through that and get that smoothed out. Remove the friction. Find the parts that are getting people stuck. I briefly mentioned onboarding earlier. Like, one of the most important things you can do to set the relationship off right from the get-go is to think about the onboarding. Onboarding doesn't happen just once. We believe that onboarding happens at every key transition in a relationship. So coming into your world just to be marketed to and sold. They need to be onboarded there. Then they become a customer. They need to be onboarded there. Then they complete your program and they go to maybe get invited to join something else. They need to be onboarded there, right? And if you're going to have handoffs to different groups within on their journey, they need to be onboarded there. So like the first impressions matter. And as we go through those journeys, we have to be constantly, every transition point is an opportunity. It's like the theater stuff. We rehearse every scene change. So going from scene 1 to scene 2, we rehearse the heck of that so that all the curtains move right, these sets move on and off, the costume changes, the right actors.
There's a lot of choreographed movements to make that happen.
And or the sports plays, you rehearse the plays over and over again so you don't fumble the ball and you don't have all these things till it's like clockwork. The quarterback can throw because he knows that guy's going to be there at that moment.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
He looks, he makes sure, boom. When you get to that level of choreography and practice, it's magical what can happen. And so that's where we have to smooth out these transitions.
With the businesses that you've worked with, you come in, give them these recommendations. You say, hey, we found your friction points. At the end of the day, maybe some of these folks in different, they're all different business sizes. Do you really need somebody that can be accountable for this? It's a new way of thinking for a lot of businesses. And in the way a lot of businesses work, somebody's accountable to the logistics, and you have an operations manager, and you have a VP of sales, and so on and so on. Do you need somebody that's point person to make sure this is part of the game? This is part of the process. We have this playbook, and we're going to repeat it. Or can you is this something you incorporate, company wide, and everybody has a little piece in it?
Yeah, that is an amazing, amazing question. I appreciate you asking it. So the answer to that is yes to both, right? So you need a leader, an owner that oversees the whole thing. And the most successful businesses that we work with bring their entire team into this in some way. And people select what parts they want to play a role in, and they take ownership of pieces of it. And so you might have people that own different pieces that report up to the overall owner. Like the most success comes from involvement. And what we found is as you bring your team into the process and doing this, first of all, you'd be surprised how many people on your team don't know what anybody else on your team does. Like this happened, it's his textbook. Like they're like, holy shit, I can't believe that you work so hard. Well, I thought I had the hardest job. That guy's working harder than I am. Like, it's like, it's crazy what comes out of this. The team building that comes out of this is amazing. The culture building that comes out of this is amazing. And the transformation from being a we to a they, like our customers, like we start looking at them in a very different way. We have more empathy. We have more understanding. And when we make it smoother and easier for our customers, what ends up happening, so we do that, we map the journeys on both the front stage, everything that's customer facing, and the backstage, everything that's in place to support that front stage journey. We end up cleaning up so many things in the back end that make the employees' lives happier, simpler, more fun, frees them up to work on these kind of projects like we're talking about to improve things and enhance them, and gives them more time to spend with customers. Because to what we were talking about before, if you truly want to obsess over your customers, you got to be with them. You got to know what's going on with them. You got to like observe and interact and guide and support. And when you do that, it is money. It's the best money you'll ever spend. It's just money well spent. So yeah, great question. Love it. We always advocate for who's going to be the adult in charge, the owner of that experience. And then, we bring in the rest of the team. And again, almost everybody decides, say, hey, I want to work on that. Hey, I want to be on that team. I want to do this. And then you kind of build team leads and things like that within.
Man, I wish we had some more hours, because I got at least 40 more questions that I want to ask you. I know time is limited, but before we get to the last thing I want to do, which is a little rapid fire segment for you, I just want to get your thoughts on something, because the customer journey is important. Customer experience is important. Something I've noticed, and I'd love to get your opinion on, is that a lot of companies have moved their support, some of the onboarding, and made that a premium. You want to talk to somebody? Go ahead and pay extra for that because that's what you got to do now. You want to find our phone number? It's not on the front page anymore. It's non-existent. You got to go through 7 hoops to even get to the phone number if it's available. We only provide email support. What is your thought on that? You know, when customers move to that kind of model where you want to talk to somebody, you got to pay extra.
Yeah. I hate that model personally as a customer. I understand where they're coming from in their thinking. Their thinking is, how do I reduce costs so that I can maybe reduce price for the customers in general? And how do I lean it out? And how do I maybe handle capacity issues where I don't have enough people to do all the inbound phone calls, so I'm going to shift it this way. That's a very myopic point of view, right? And I think it's detrimental to the success of the company. I think you need to ask yourself some different questions. So in our company, we had my big company, right? We did a lot. We 9 figures in sales, and over the long haul, we had a call center. And when we had our first call center manager that we hired off the street, because we needed someone to manage it. We kind of grew it organically and had a bunch of misfits that had no leader. And we brought in a leader that was a seasoned call center manager. And when she came in, she had all the credentials. She knew how to do it. Her measure of success was volume of calls per minute. And she wanted to make sure that we can get more calls per agent done and completed per minute.
Right.
And that was the worst possible metric, in my opinion, you could use. Right.
And that's a metric most call centers, and that's now you're talking my language. We deal with call centers and support centers because we sell products into those types of customers.
Yeah.
That's the number one metric for a lot of call centers for how do we measure an agent's success rate is how many calls, how long you're on the call. If the call took 30 seconds, took 30 minutes, right?
Yep. Yeah. And so the way where we got to was, what is the success? What is the success of a call? A success metric for us was a happy customer. We didn't solve their problem as the metric. They were happy with the outcome. And so the outcome didn't mean the issue was closed. The outcome meant that they felt that we handled it in a great way in that moment. Because sometimes we need to send them a new piece of equipment, or we need to send a technician out, or we had to do something else. Right. But we wanted them to be really happy with the call. And so we would start out all of our calls by, generally speaking, apologizing to them that they had to take time out of their busy day to even make this call.
Does that work, or does that seem disingenuous? I've been on a lot of calls. I've talked to a lot of people, and I've listened to a lot of calls. Does it just, to me, I don't know, just me. Sometimes it feels like you're just reading a script, or does it actually work psychologically, even though you may think it's a script?
I don't know the answer to that from that perspective. I know that we genuinely believed that. Every one of our people believed that. So I think when you truly believe something and it's part of the culture and the DNA, that it comes across that way. And so we would just say, hey, listen, I'm Jason. My goal for this call is to help you get the outcome that you most want, so you feel happy at the end of this call. But I do want to apologize that you even had to take the time out of your day. I mean that sincerely. So what I want to do is, with your permission, I want to ask you just a couple quick questions so that I can help you quickly and get you on your way, so that whatever, right? And so they'd be like, well, thank you so much. And, we'd ask them how their day was. We'd have some thought starters. We had all that kind of stuff. But we start out with a genuine apology, because honestly, the things shouldn't be going wrong that most of them were having. And they had to stop and sit on hold or do whatever they had to do. And we didn't want that. And so they develop a relationship over the period of the call. And we were not trying to rush them off the call unless they said, look, I only have 2 minutes. Well, great. We do as much as we can in 2 minutes, and we'd respect them. We say, listen, we're about 2 minutes. I know you said you had to go. Here's where we're at. I think the next step is, you want to set up a time that I can call you back so you don't have to sit on hold. Or if you'd like, we'll dispatch a technician. That may just take a little bit longer. And 9 times out of 10, they say, great. Can you call me after 3? Great. We'll call you at 3:10. How's that sound? Perfect. Talk to you then. and
Awesome.
they were happy. That's all they wanted. They wanted to feel heard, and and whatever. Like, we just respected the 2-minute thing. We didn't try and push them and keep them on longer. And if they said, you know what, I'm good for another couple minutes, then we'll spend another couple minutes, right?
Love it.
But it's not that hard. It's not. But I think I think it's great to have premium services. I just don't think that the basic services have to be paid for. If I bought your software and I need help using it, fucking pick up the phone and talk to me.
Right. Well, what do you think about chatbots? Okay, so I know this wasn't in there, but chatbots are supposed to maybe do some of this stuff, and so chatbots instead of humans, or are we still going to need a blend of both to get to some kind of answer? I think we should
have a blend of both, and I think if it's done well, and you really map out the journey with the chatbot and make it fun and make it interactive.
A snarky chatbot. No, you are not asking me that question. I don't know. Go back.
Dude,
go back.
If you wouldn't ask a human that question, why do you feel it's okay to ask me that question? Have fun with it, right? Be on brand, the voice of your company, but you could have it be so that people are chuckling and giggling and saying, "Hey, dude, go log on to this site and check out this chatbot. It's awesome."
The advice from today from Jason is install a snarky chatbot.
I'm saying do it on brand and voice for your customer. If you're a snarky company, have a snarky chatbot. But think about stand-up comedy. So many people love stand-up and love humor and love that. So in your brand's voice, how could you have it be more fun? How could you have it be more clever? How could you have it be something that's that was cool? I want to tell somebody else about it. There's a great story. I know we have limited time. We got to go. But there's a great story about CD Baby. Years ago, you could have CDs printed and whatever. You can Google CD Baby welcome email, right? And they spent a lot of money refining this email, and they would send this email out and it was like, hey, I'm in the factory. I'm being printed right now. This is what's going on. It would just be a fun email that got you to feel wow, this company is awesome. And it was a delivery fulfillment email that was made fun that people shared, which got them more customers. So, look at the journey and just see, how can I make it easier for my customers? And what would happen if that phone call that you wanted to charge for, if you didn't, but it got a customer who's on a month-to-month plan of software to stay? What's the lifetime value that one phone call just created? You spent all this money trying to get them to be a customer. Now you're like, I don't want to talk to you. I mean, ludicrous.
Yeah, you're not lying. You're not lying. Isn't that right, Flavor Flav?
Yeah, boy.
Absolutely. Yes, for my guest, Jason Friedman, who's dropped so much knowledge. We couldn't fit it all in this episode.
Yeah, boy.
We got to have a second round, because there's a bunch of stuff that we're not going to be able to get to today. But, Jason, when you want to come back, you have an open invitation so we can keep this discussion going, because I wanted to get into techniques and tactics a little bit more with you. And maybe we save that for part 2.
Yeah, let's do a part 2, man. That'd be fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you've been nerding out with us and you got to the end, I want to invite you to go and hang out with Dave and me on an episode we did with Dan Macaroon, who talked about the evolving customer experience. But before we close, I want to let you, Jason, go ahead and plug whatever you wanted to. If people want to get a hold of you and talk to you, I know we also have a special offer that you came with today that if we could also talk about. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, listen, I would love to have any of you that want some help with your business or interested in this. Yeah, definitely go check us out on our website at cxformula.com. But I have a gift, right? So I want you to go check out this gift.cxformula.com/tech, TECK. And it's a PDF. You can't get it on our website. And you blew the surprise by showing the website, because I try and make people go there without knowing what it was. But
some of those people that are on audio they're not seeing it.
Okay,
so they're going to be hearing your voice.
You what it is. If you're seeing it, then you know. But here's the thing. What I want you to do, it's less than 10-minute investment of your time, and it's going to give you a fundamentally different perspective on your business. It's going to give you a different way to think about your customers, and it's going to give you a path to coming up with some tactics that you can implement. So two asks. If you download it, actually open it and look at it. Don't let it become shelfware. And 2, if you dig it and you're going to use it, just shoot me an email. Tell me what you're doing. This is how I stay in touch with customers and see the progress that you're making. So let me know. My email's in there. And just hit me up and tell me what's going on with it, because we want to help.
Oh, awesome. And you've provided so much valuable information today for so many of us that are, for our audience that's listening. I appreciate you providing this kind of special offer. So the link is going to be below as well. So if you're listening, that site is gift.cxformula.com /tech, spelled TECK, just like the name of the show. So I want to thank Jason for coming on today, helping us improve the customer journey. I, and hopefully Dave, will join you the next time. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, man. Really loved it.
Thank you.